Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. Next up, my old Monte Carlo going through the Mecum auction. Here goes. All right, so we're getting ready for the car to come up. It's just a few minutes away. And I'm here with my pop and my friend Marshall, who was also at the auction last March when it actually sold, when I had it. What is the guess? What's your guess?
50,000. Me?
Well, no sold at 65.
Yeah.
So guess over that.
Give me the guess. Say?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll sell.
You don't think it'll sell? All right, so we're gonna say a no sale and ain't gonna meet reserve. All right, what's your
75.
You think 75?
Yeah, I think it'll sell.
I'm gonna go because now that it's coming through right behind a bunch of big money cars, I'm gonna say 80,000,
Okay.
and I'm gonna say it'll sell. So I'm going for the gold that it's gonna sell. So let's take a look.
Lot F128 1970 Monte Carlo SS big block factory super sport 454 under the hood automatic transmission new red interior and vintage air.
And somebody give $100,000 here, 100 at $100,000 here, 100 bid, you want to give 80 bid, you want to give 80, want to give 80, want to give 80 at 80,000. My buddy had one like this, $80,000 bid. $80,000 bid, you want to give 80, you want to give 50 bid, you want to give 20, you want to give 30, at 30 bid, you want to give 40, you want to give 50, at 50 bid, you want to give 50, you want to give 50 bid, you want to give 40, you want to give 50, I have 40 bid, you want to give 50, I only had one, 40, 50, I have 40 bid, you want to give 50 bid, you want to give 45, 50, at $50,000 is the bid, you want to get 60, I have 50 bid, you want to get 55, at 50 bid, you want to get 55,000, you want to get $50,000 bid, anybody get $55,000 for it, at 55, I got you, sir. Are you bidding? At $55,000, $60,000, $65,000, 65. I have 60 bid. You want to get 5 bid? You want to get 5? I have 60,000. You want to get 65,000? Anybody else? At 60,000. You want to get 65,000? At 65,000. I have 60,000. You want to get 65? 60's bid. 65. Now 70. Now 70. At 70 bid, you want to get 65, 70. I have 65 bid, you want to get 67, 70, 70, 70,000, you want to get 70 bid, you want to get 70, you want to get 70. At 70,000, you want to get 70 bid, you want to get 70,000. At 70,000, you want to get 70 bid, you want to get 70. At 70,000. 70. At 70,000. You want to give 68.
It's up to 60.
Now 70.
Yeah, it's up to 68.
Reserve is off.
Reserve is off. It's gonna sell.
Bid. You want to get 70,000. I have 68 bid. You want to get 70 bid. You want to get 70. Sold $68,000. Travis Delzell.
Now offering lot F128.1 1965 Buick Riviera custom with a new 525 automatic transmission custom chassis and Italian leather interior.
I'll give my follow-up. All right, so I've had some time to reflect on the auction results today from my former car, and I know a lot of y'all probably want my input on it. A lot of y'all probably don't want to hear my input on it, and that's okay too. But I figured I would give you a quick overview, being Friday the 13th, with a good day to talk about the devil, so the devil is in the details. And this car just sold for $68,000. You could see earlier in the video, my buddy Marshall said no sale. He was almost right. Pop said 75. I was trying to be optimistic, and I said 80,000. It brought 68, and it sold. Unless the Mecum waived his fees or his seller's fees, he didn't make anything with the money he had invested in the car, and that's where we're going to get into. The devil is in the details. Now, keep in mind, this car in Indy last year brought 65,000, but they did not sell it. At that point in time, with the travel expenses up there and the fees, he would about broke even on the car. But you know, if they'd have waived his fee or whatever, maybe he could have made a little bit. But I don't know what Mecum's rules is on that. I have just been told that they will waive fees from time to time to get the sale done, because they're still getting the guaranteed 10% buyer's fee. So this $68,000 car is a 7.74.8 is what the new owner will have in that car. With that being said, I was sent some photos underneath this car to see if it still had the hijacker shocks on it that I had, the coilovers, heavy duty coilover shocks. I did not have the factory air ride hooked up on this thing at the factory that it came with. yes, it still had those, which is one reason with those smaller wheels and tires the guy had on it, it did not, the stance just did not work with those skinnier tires. The car would have needed to been lowered back down to a more factory ride height. Again, the devil's in the details, and that was one thing that made the car look kind of quirky. Now, but underneath the car, the guy's had it for almost a year. He did not bother to clean the road grime off this car. Mind you, I had been to Pennsylvania to the first generation Monte Carlo Easter meet. I had been to Bristol for the Easter meet. I had been to Bristol for a friends gathering with all of us in 2020, after the Easter meet in 2020. And it seemed like every time I went to a car show or drove this car, I got caught in a monsoon of a rainstorm. Both trips to Bristol, there was a monsoon of a rainstorm. And the Easter meet, on the way back, there was a monsoon of a rainstorm. On the way to sell this car, it rained. Interstate 85 had just gotten wet. You know what's on a road when it's wet? Dirt. All that was under that car. Not to mention, I drove 90 miles an hour to have my last little hurrah in it before I sold it. Up there. So, you know, all that crap was still under his car. Especially under the rear of the car. I didn't see under the front. Not like, this is not criticizing someone's taste. The only reason I'm critiquing this as much as I am is because this is an educational experience for many of you that may see this. If you're going to sell a car, you have to present it the best way you can. You know, this is a body off the frame car, and it's presented as such, so it needs to look the part. This car was built as a what if. It never was built to be made correct. The person who sold this car, that's the direction that they went with it. It just didn't work. There was too much more stuff to change to make the car like a what if correct car. Kind of like someone taking a 57 Chevy and making an El Camino. I have seen some that were more of a resto mod version, but I have seen a couple that they made an El Camino 57. One of the best ones I ever seen used a 5-window pickup cab. And I mean, this thing was gorgeous. It was done in a 210 trim. It was a two-tone green. Absolute perfect original interior. Under the hood, it was done as if GM would have built this thing. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was at the Charlotte Auto Fair 4 or 5 years back. It was awesome. And I've seen others since then that people put their own spin on, and some of those look good too. But the fact of it is, those were built with the intention of copying. It was a what-if car, like I did, but it was put back totally original as if it had been built. My car was built as a what-if, but it was more a what-if on a day two type of car. It had the gauges under the dash, that's made the car a whole lot more drivable, which they removed for the auction to make the interior appear more clean, and I understand why they done it. But like these hoses under the hood, they changed to put a GM top radiator hose, which was a great improvement. They used the factory style hose clamps, which I don't like, they're aggravating. But on a correct, totally AACA correct build you would use. Those were the only two AACA correct changes under the hood. Everything else was still the way I had it. You know, they also used an L79 water neck. They changed the intake. I believe they changed the carburetor. But a lot of this stuff, if you're building a car, would be for taste. But again, devil's in the details. You can't have mismatched parts under the hood. That's a no-no. So here we are. We got this car that I rolled out that was all hands on deck. Everything that I ever thought about doing in a Monte Carlo, I threw at this thing. So it was like this eye candy special, you know, muscle tires, you know, white letters, filled the fender wells up. Again, day two basically car. And then they dumbed it down kind of to go back more stock. And that's totally okay if you like that. And I'm not docking people who like a totally stock correct car. I like to see them myself. But to do this car that way, you would have had to change the ride height. You would have had to change the a lot more things. Even to keep it as a what if, but do it like the El Camino I just talked about, and do it as a totally stock AACA appearing what if. And the reason I keep saying what if is because there's no such thing as a Monte Carlo with red interior. It would always be a what if. But it had a 71 hood spear. You can't simply take that hood spear off and put on a 70 hood spear. So it's still a what if. And that's not a big change, but I've noticed that several people on my social media has commented on that hood spear. Why does this car have an incorrect hood spear? It's supposed to be a big dollar build. And I had to chime in and say, look, I built this car the way I wanted it. I'm the one that built it. Here's the reason it had the 71 hood spear. It wasn't an afterthought. It was built that way on purpose. Again, I rolled it out there, all hands on deck. Here it is. Take it, leave it, like it, love it, hate it, don't care. But when someone else gets it and they bought it to resell, they try to change a few things, and a lot of times it backfires. In my opinion, whoever bought this car to sell, it did not work out very well for them. Again, I could be, negative and be like, ha ha ha, I told you, change it from the way I had it, you shot yourself in the foot. I just can't be that way. I wish the guy the best. I wanted it to bring the money for the guy to make some money. What it sold for resonates good with me. The car was that nice, but I think some of the changes that were made and the way they were done halfway there, if someone wants to take it to the next level and go the what if 57 El Camino route, the what if AACA look, totally stock, totally original, they can do this now, but they're halfway there. They've got a lot more changes to make. And I want to make this very clear. This car was never intended to be correct. It was done as a what if day 2 Jared's ideas and what I like. That's what it was about. Right here, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. That'll help me out. Like, share, comment, share these videos with all your friends. One more thing. Where will this car go next? Will it try to be resold again? Or will it finally be enjoyed as I intended it to be? I hope it's enjoyed. That said, thank you for watching.